So we focus on a short 6-game slate around MLB today. Plenty of clubs off on this Thursday and some day baseball. That includes in Arlington, the reigning World Series champs, the Rangers, with a winning record to begin, 7-5 to their first 12 games. In the A's, Craig, maybe not as bad as we expected, 4-8, not in the bottom of the American League West. That's where the Astros are in last. So a matchup today in Arlington. Texas, a -180 home money line favorite. How do you preview the Texas tussle?
Very hard to see the A's winning this one for me this afternoon. Now, look, it is April, and as we said, I mean, the Marlins, last night were, plus 200. I mean, anything can happen in baseball in April, so let's not rule that out. But that being said, today, I know both pitchers are not pitching particularly well. J.P. Sears on the side of Oakland and John Gray on the side of Texas. And by the way, there isn't a ton of data that shows that the hitters have faced either of these pitchers all that much. Gray, of course, once upon a time pitching in the National League before moving over to Texas. But, to me, this is sort of the situation where if you look at Sears' starts, has struggled in the first 5 innings. Oakland falls behind. Whether or not they come back sort of becomes irrelevant. Maybe that would be more of the direction to go here with the Texas Rangers and not worry about the end result of the game. So, certainly never advising laying -170 in a first 5, but I don't see a ton of other options here because I think that Oakland could score on Gray as well. Brent Rooker in particular is the one player on the A's that's had a lot of success against Gray.
Houston and Kansas City today at 2:10 Eastern. Windy conditions out there at Kauffman. But if you take a look at these teams, and I tell you, one team is a game out of first place, one team is in last place. Yeah, of course, it's Kansas City that's in last place. Not the case here. Houston in last place. Brown's going to be on the mound versus Singer. But you do have a favorite here for the road team, the Houston Astros at a -142 number. Houston really struggling. Kansas City playing good baseball. What can we anticipate today, Craig?
Royals playing great baseball right now, not just good. Yeah. This is the best baseball they've played in April in a long period of time. Brady Singer pitching his best baseball ever right now. But I know that's, sort of the line. You're looking at it like, this is screwy. Why are they -140? I mean, Hunter Brown is pitching for Houston, guys. This is a good pitcher. He faced the Rangers. He faced the Yankees. The first 2 times out, he got obliterated. This is not – the Royals are good. They're not those teams. So I think there's a bounce back coming from Houston today. I would look toward the under here. I think both pitchers have a chance to pitch particularly well. Royals, generally speaking, a park that usually goes under the total.
Yeah, 9 is that total. The under has the juice. The Royals have won 6 straight games. They dropped their opening 2. They've won 8 of the last 10. Craig, you convinced me to take KC over 73.5 wins. We're off to a great start right there. So I thank your knowledge and your expertise, and you will see more of that from Craig Mish starting in just about 40 minutes, 11 a.m. Eastern time, live right here on Newswire. Craig, thank you so much for your time. As always, we'll chat later this week. From the daily bases to the Diamond Dash, only 6 games around Major League Baseball on this Thursday. Plenty of clubs have the day off. We've got 4 games during the day. We've got 2 starting after 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we break them all down live right here on the early line. And we start with one of those games that starts after 6:30 p.m. Eastern time in Donnie's neck of the woods at the bank in Philadelphia. It's a battle of the Commonwealth. The Pittsburgh Pirates and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phils at home, a -146. Home money line favorite. Total is 9. But DRS, the Buccos enter with a better record. 9 wins atop the National League Central.
Yeah, you take a look at that line. It seems a little bit light when it's the Phillies at home taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. But you're right. The Pirates have been much better this season as they anticipated. The Philadelphia Phillies off to their usual start, around 500 before they kick it into gear later in the season. Good win by the Phillies yesterday in rainy conditions in St. Louis to take back-to-back road trip series and win them both 2-1, 2-1. So now they come home. But also, is this game going to actually be played today? If it is, I actually hope it is. The reason being, 60 degrees here, not bad temperatures, but a wind of 16 miles an hour sustained blowing out to left field. The only problem is the Philadelphia Phillies played yesterday in the rain and through the raindrops. They're going to have to do the same thing tonight in Philadelphia as rain is expected for most of the game. Jones will be on the mound here for the Pittsburgh Pirates. You take a look at him based on just this season's statistics, 48 batters he's faced. It hasn't been bad, but he does have a slightly elevated ISO power number here, Ben, to left-handed batters, which could be dangerous because those left-handed batters in the lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies at the top, Kyle Schwarber and also Bryce Harper, might have a chance to tee off here. If we're flipping it over to the opposite side and take a look at how the Pirates match up. Ranger Suarez has been very good here this season and also had a solid season last year. 41 batters he's faced. The ISO power number is a little bit elevated at 179 combined between lefty and righties. Yeah. Keep in mind, Ranger Suarez is a left-handed pitcher. However, to lefties, who's only faced 10, they have a 333 ISO power number against him, which is usually an anomaly. Usually the higher number is going to come from the right-handed batters. But the one thing that we do love about the Pirates, Ben, on this early season against left-handed pitching, take a look at some of these weighted on base percentages. 374, 561, 494, 513, 422, 386. The Pirates have done well here against left-handed pitching. I would love to take an over if this game plays because everything's spelling up to two okay pitchers here, two lineups that can get after it, and the wind's blowing out at Citizens Bank Ballpark. That's the way I look here.
We'll see if the game is played. Some rain is expected, as the RS mentioned, in the Northeast later on this Thursday. One game that was originally scheduled in Detroit between the Tigers and the Twins, postponed due to inclement weather. It is rescheduled for Saturday. That was between the Tigers and the Twins. So again, only 6 games on this Major League Baseball slate. Next up, we go from Philadelphia to some day baseball in Cincinnati. It's the Reds and the Brewers. Milwaukee got out to a hot start yesterday. Christian Yelich, 2-run shot in the top of the first. They never looked back. They won 7-2. Today, they are a road moneyline favorite, -126. Total at 8.5. The Brew Crew over in 7 games this year. Cincinnati over in 9 games so far. 8.5 is the total. Might we see some offense in the Great American Small Park?
Yeah, one of those ballparks that you love to bet RBI props in and home run props in because you can hit a lot there. The wind is blowing in at 10 miles an hour, but I don't even know if we get this game in here. Heavy rain expected all throughout the game today, so we'll see when this one starts. But if we're looking from a Freddie Peralta perspective here, the starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, he's been good. 43 batters that he's faced, Ben. How about this? A combined ISO power number between lefty and righty batters out of 105, a weighted on base percentage of 206. That's absolutely fantastic here. The lineup that we like for the Reds, they've actually done very well against right-handed pitching, particularly the block in the middle of that order. Fraley, De La Cruz, Steer, and Martini, 361, 599, 382, and 416. They're weighted on base percentages, respectively, here. But if you look at that Milwaukee lineup, this is where it starts to get good here. And this is why it's a shame where we just talked about the Phillies game. I think there'll be a total if they play. Same thing here. Look at Nick Martinez on the mound. Very good season last year. That hasn't translated equally this year. 48 batters that he's faced, a weighted on base percentage combined between lefties and righties at a 359. Take a look at this lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers because it's usually for us, we say, okay, it's Yelich and everybody else because they're usually not very good. But how about this? Against right-handed pitching this season, I'm going to read you the weighted on base percentages of the anticipated starting lineup today. Keep in mind, guys, 320 to 325 or higher is above the Major League Baseball average here. 349, 509, 358, 371, 369, 357, 318, 418, and 372. Maybe a team totals in order for the Milwaukee Brewers if they play this game today. I like that Brewers lineup.
So when you look right now around MLB, a short slate, a lot of teams off, and weather could impact a ton of games. At least the weather is not great in MLB, so we can get some good weather down in Georgia, both for the Braves and the Mets, and, of course, at Augusta. The rain has gone through. They are off or about to be off as of this moment. 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. The first tee balls are supposed to be hit by Eric Van Rooyen and Jake Knapp, who won earlier this year on the PGA Tour. The twosome gets us started at the 2024 Masters. 4, please. A tradition unlike any other. So we continue around Major League Baseball in Atlanta, staying in that state down in Georgia. The Braves and the Mets, some day baseball early on. This one first pitch scheduled in less than 2 hours, 12:22 p.m. Eastern time. The Braves, a hefty home favorite, -168 against the New York Mets, over under 9.5. What's the breakdown?
Yeah, on the other side of the state there for the Masters here, so something to keep an eye on. And also, as you were talking about, Ben, those conditions. Now, granted, Atlanta and Augusta are pretty far away. We're not worried about any rain, but those windy conditions that we're expecting at Augusta showing up in Atlanta as well. 16-mile-an-hour sustained winds here at 70-degree temperatures, but those winds not pointing out, Ben, pointing out to right field. No, they're actually coming in from right field, so that might have a little bit of a difference here. Winans will be the pitcher of record today, we anticipate, starting for the Atlanta Braves. If we're looking at at last year, 140 batters that he's faced, struggled a little bit, particularly with left-handed batters. Faced 92 last year, Ben, a 238 ISO and a 421 weighted on base percentage. Now, he's going to get his first start this year as we line up and say, well, is that same struggle going to continue? So if you're looking for some Mets bats here from the left-hand side, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Brett Beatty, McNeil, and Stewart would be the guys that you're trying to eye up. Now, let's flip it over to an Atlanta Braves perspective on what we think they can do at the plate. If you take a look at last year, Jose Quintana, 367 batters that he faced. His ISO power number combined was a 112. That's really good. This year, it's a little bit elevated through 47 batters, up to a 175. But catch this. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's actually doing very well against right-handed batters. A 114 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 297. Only 6 batters faced from the left-hand side. ISO power number, 600. Weighted on base percentage, 762. So could it be the lefties in the lineup to do some damage? And you look right in the middle. Matt Olson is a left-handed batter. 308 ISO power number, 342 weighted on base percentage versus left-handed pitchers this season. So if there's a matchup that I like, which usually is not lefty on lefty, you want to avoid that. But it seems like Quintana has struggled with lefties, and Olson on this early season has really hit lefties well. That's a guy to keep an eye on today down in Atlanta.
We'll continue to roll it around to Boston, back in Fenway Park for the third consecutive day. It's the Orioles and the Red Sox. Again, weather could influence this start time, 7:11 p.m. Eastern time. But Grayson Rodriguez on the bump for Baltimore against the Red Sox, and they are booked as the road favorites, minus 122. The O's have won each of the first 2 games in Fenway this week, looking to make it a perfect 3 for 3.
Yeah, and by the way, weather conditions here, a little bit chilly in Boston, not any rain expected, so we should be okay in this one. If you take a look at Grayson Rodriguez, who we really liked last year, he dominated right-handed batters as a right-handed pitcher, but gave it up a little bit to left-handed batters, a 204 ISO power number, which again, that number is like 170 or less if you're a pitcher you want to see that at, so that was elevated, a 364 weighted on base percentage. This year, however, struggling a little bit more, Ben, with right-handed batters than he is the lefties here. To righties, through 32 batters, he's faced a 207 ISO power number and a 335 weighted on base percentage. To lefties this year, how about this? A weighted on base percentage of only 228, so handling his business there. If we're focusing on the lineup on the opposite side, which would be for Baltimore, which it seems like everybody is hitting here. Now let's catch this. Garrett Whitlock last year was an average pitcher. How about this? A 194 ISO power number combined between 346 batters that he faced. A 345 weighted on base percentage. But this year, it's been the complete opposite. Through 39 batters he's faced, Ben, how about this? An 029 ISO and a 259 weighted on base percentage. But something has to give here. It's not great heading conditions in Boston, but going up against Baltimore, that's a great lineup. Take a look at the first 8 batters in the lineup today as we focus on the Orioles against right-handed pitching in 2024. 375 ISO, 185, 300, 261, 304, 308, and 250. This line is absolutely doing damage here. Something has to give.
Yeah.
I would trust the bats for the Baltimore Orioles more than I do Garrett Whitlock.
The Royals off to a good start. The Astros not so much. Houston in last currently in the AL West at 4-9. Kansas City looking up at Cleveland, but an 8-4 start in the American League Central. The Stros a slight road favorite in Kauffman today against Brady Singer and KC. But the Royals have won 6 straight. Does the win streak, as the odds makers expect, ERS, come to a close?
Yeah, by the way, Singer was average last year overall, 177 ISO, 341 weighted on base percentage against 749 batters. This year, he's faced 47 batters. He's been really good, Ben. ISO of 140 and a weighted on base percentage of 205. Now let's go to the other side. Hunter Brown, who's a pretty good pitcher, but last year, again, a 194 ISO power number to 350 weighted on base percentage. That's not the signs of a future ace here. And this year, it's been even worse. 39 batters faced, a 212 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 449. Heavy winds expected today, sustained 20-mile-an-hour crosswinds here. But I actually would lean, how about this again, to those Kansas City Royals.
Plus 120 on KC.
Yeah.
8 wins I need out of the 74 to go over 73.5 for the preseason win total.